Hello, Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. We have a destined portal energy eclipse coming through your sky. It's about the money. Basically, you're going to have new ways to earn income coming through this opening in your sky called an eclipse in the month of February 2026. And this is for Sun, Moon, and Rising people. Also, I want you to consider that you might be thinking about a relocation of where you live. And I'll be sharing in this week, in this month's astrology, why that might be true. Change of home and change of money situations are on the menu in February. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, my name is Lori Lothian. By the way, 7,000 of you are new. 7,000 you arrived on my doorstep in the last 28 days, recording on January 21st for Patreon community. However, also, if you like my astrology, for some reason you're here, where I talk about world events plus all signs delineations for predictions and forecasts, consider checking out how to time your best 2026. Move with the flow of events. Use the time clock of astrology, the time map to do that. And that is my 2026 individual videos or the All Signs Bundle. And the All Signs Bundle is good for you listen to your Sun, Moon, Rising, friends, and family. Still at the sale price from December. I'm extending it all the way through to the end of February to honor the fact that people feel economically challenge these days. Most people do. And I don't want to make that worse for you. Hopefully this product makes your life easier. And there's also a PDF guidebook, and it helps me raise money for my channel. It's a fundraiser for equipment, staff, and scholarship funds. Check it out below. Thank you. If you're in an intermediate level astrologer and you want to learn to use some ancient divine timing tools for predictions, I'm teaching that advanced astrology class, intermediate advanced, probably in March or April, 4 weeks with me, live coaching calls, a lot of hand holding. Don't come into that class if you're brand new. The wait list is in the description box below. Get on the wait list. You'll know when the doors are opening, and you'll also know you'll probably get a discount code for an early bird pricing. All right, let's get rolling through this story. Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Okay. Whew. Money is a big deal in the sky for you right now, as well as the possibility of what you might want to do in terms of relocations or changes of hood. Now, your neighborhood. Now, you do have a huge amount of surprise, as we all do. 4 major squares to Uranus bring unexpected developments. Expect the unexpected. That makes my job really hard to find out what it is that's going to be happening for you, that I can say, okay, unexpected things are happening, and I can't tell you what they are. They won't be unexpected. So I'm doing my best. Okay. So here we have the sky. I'm doing my best to try to guess what the unexpected 4 things that could happen this month might be. So stick around for that. This is a Capricorn ascendant. That's the symbol for your sign. If you see me on YouTube in a live premiere and you don't know where I am because you can't use timestamps in a live premiere, look to this symbol at 9 a.m. That's your sign. So listening for your sun sign, that's your true essential nature, the spirit, your divine spark, your snowflake of God, your individual spark of the divine. It is not your ego, and it is going to be very much something that you become more available to astrologically live into after the age of 43 or so. And then I'll explain it in another video. And then on top of that, your rising sign, based on your time of birth, is your simulation game avatar. It's the character in the movie. The sun is the one who plays the character. In other words, like the actor, the more essential nature of who you are. And then the moon is your feelings and thinkings about the reality. But when I say listen for your sun, moon, listen to the moon as if you're listening quite often for how you might emotionally respond to life, but more importantly, how you might have changes that impact where you live, your home. And when it comes to matters to do with Capricorns listening for their sun sign, career purpose matters might predominate the narrative. And listening for your rising sign is anything that might impact you in the simulation, the plot points and twists of your life. So circumstantial change. So as we begin, the first thing I want to point out is that you come into the month of February, having been dealing with the stellium that has been locked and loaded with Mars's entrance on January 23rd. So January 23rd and entering into February, look at how many planets are in your second house of money, earnings, resources, financial stability, possessions. What do you have? You're trying to see what you have because there's a lot of energy here. Now, this energy is similar to 1994 at the same time of year, January into February. So this is something you lived through very similarly in 1994. Difference is Pluto is here and he wasn't then, but you still have some commonality to that time frame. And so you can think about you and earnings, money, resources, and finances in 1994 and go, wow, what was I focused on then? But ultimately, you come into this year with this kind of weighted energy around your speech, how you speak, your earnings and money, your face, including nose, teeth, including the potential for dental work with Mars here. And you come into this and facial rejuvenation and fixing your face. But you also come heavily weighted with this idea of what it is you put in your mouth or your nose, food, right? Usually food, other time, or cigarettes and you're inhaling. I don't know, but things that you ingest through the nose, sniff or eat belong to this part of the chart. And so quite clearly also you might be focused on your dietary habits here. Now you're going to come into February and the first thing you have to watch for is the moon that's going to be full. So I'm going to show you the full moon that we're all paying attention to. I'm going to go back exactly 1 hour in order to get the ascendant back up a bit here. And now we're going to go ahead by a day. And here you have the moon is going to be full on the 1st of February. And it's going to be full in the 8th house of chunky money. What is chunky money anyway? It's unearned income and shared monies with other people. Money from your in-laws, spousal shared resources, separation and divorces, and inheritance monies. It could be a tax rebate, all of that, tax monies, money coming from an investment. A full moon is completion, it's payout. So if you're talking about stock investments, it may be a good time to take money off the table. You planted some seeds here for some kind of increase in that kind of money because the moon had been energetically new and would be waxing. Now it's going to wane. It's full. It's at the height. So if you have investments in the markets and they're at a decent height, it might be time to liquidate something. That I'm not your financial advisor though, but also there is a fulfillment of completion energy in money that doesn't belong to you. Inheritances and, investment funds and in-laws and shared resources with your spouse. This is fulfilling, completing, ending, closing down from seeds planted last year in late July or into August. Now you're ending that cycle. And the moon is reflecting a stellium in the 2nd house of earnings, indicating perhaps that the focus will be less on living from spousal support or alimony or government monies or investment monies and making money. This is making money over here. And we're going to get to the eclipse in a bit. So there's that lunation, full and bright. It may tie into the August moon that's happening. That's an eclipse, total solar eclipse in your 8th house. This might be like a foreshock or a forewarning of changes coming in a money part of your chart. For some of you, it could open up doors of psychic ability and could also be talking about some fulfillments of some goals for spiritual liberation from the egoic identity as well. As you move into then the February 4th storyline, you'll see that Uranus is going to head into direct motion. Now, it's interesting for you because Uranus is, of course, a dude who's been disrupting your sex and romance life since 2018 March with erratic energy, unpredictable energy, outside the box energy. You might have tried kink, polyamory, marriage sabbaticals. There's a rewiring of how you approach romantic and sexual love energy that has been going on for a long time. This could also have brought you unexpected pregnancies or you and your partner, or unexpected developments regarding children and grandchildren. This last salvo, as Uranus goes direct on February 4th to leave your 5th house by the time you get to April 26, could bring you some wealth. This is a Algol wealth star here. It could bring you grandchildren between now and April 26, like knowledge you're going to be a grandparent. It could unexpectedly or surprisingly or delightfully, but it can also bring you some money only because this is a win money house, good fortune house. And there's a wealth star that Algol is that Uranus is turning around on February the 4th. And so around February 4th, it would not be a bad idea to buy a lottery ticket with Venus in the money house telling Uranus what to do. I want to possess more money. He goes, okay, I'm going to the horse races. I'm placing a bet. I'm going to the casino. I'm buying a lottery ticket, but do not count on it as like, this is the gospel, please. This is a general reading. It just is a very potentially shocking fortune that could be coming your way around February the 4th. No guarantees, guys. No guarantees. Now, in this chart, it could also be connected to siblings. Okay. Unexpected chunk of money from siblings or financial fortunes from a sibling or connected to a sibling. That's a possibility here too. This chart suggests an elder sibling in particular. Now, when I move toward February the 5th, Mercury will square Uranus. Mercury will square Uranus as the first of 4 unexpected developments that probably surprise you this month. February the 5th, well, Mercury is the god of news and information. Uranus is in your house of chunky money, not chunky money, lucky money, romance, sex, pregnancy, fertility, and your very own children. Mercury represents speech, communication, and email. So text, phone call, email, conversation with a lover, a child. And it's maybe about pregnancy, fertility, or romance. Could indicate a possibility, if you're a creative, artistic type, of some monetary gain from one of your art projects or entrepreneurial business ideas suddenly taken off. But it's positive in the sense that Venus is bonifying Mercury. So I don't think it's going to look hard on you. I think you're going to like the vibe, but it still might be a little bit like, holy man, you got to be kidding me. You might definitely feel surprised. Okay. And, but surprising news is basically where we're going to leave that one. That should have some good fortune attached to it. Could feel like a windfall based on the Mars position here. On February the 6th, Mercury will transition into Pisces and will be there until April 15th. His long stay here, starting on the 6th of February, is because he will retrograde here on the 3rd week, 26th actually, of February. And this prolongs his stay in this part of the sky. You had this kind of prolonged stay in 2019 and 20, around the same time of year. So there might be elements of 2019, 20 that are resonant to you around this time of year. And because Mercury is going to be here for so very, very long, there's going to be a lot of focus on communicating, traveling, learning, teaching, could involve websites, online social media stuff. And your Mercury energy takes your attention and your mind and puts it there. It's a communications house. It's a place that involves the hands and the arms. It's a house of writing, and Mercury does like to communicate. So you might be connected to those kinds of things in a really intense way. As Mercury enters here, Saturn is still here until the 14th. So from February 6th to the 14th, there is a combination of Saturn Mercurial energy, and that can make it feel like sometimes communication is hard. Communication is difficult, whether it's mostly writing can be spoken, but on the other, marketing and selling can feel constrained as well. However, Saturn says form and structure, and Mercury says okay. So you might take new structures and forms to how you market, sell, communicate. You might create a website, a booking site. You might structure your table of contents for a book you want to write. So you might be giving form and structure to communications projects, February the 7th to the 15th, and doing that very effectively. Just get an editor, because Mercury doesn't see the small details very well. And you might have a lot of like glitches in your grammar or typos in your spelling, but otherwise all is well. You have siblings here, and communication from siblings can come through, especially from a sibling in this sky, 3 younger or 3 older. And with Saturn there, maybe some difficult news as well. Now, when we move on to February, the 7th to the 14th, we're on the 2nd week of the month. And on February 7th to the 14th, the first thing I want to draw our attention to is Venus. She's a good girl. She's a benefic. And she's going to, like Mercury did on the 5th of February, on the 8th of February, she's now going to square Uranus and bring a surprise. Well, she's a money goddess in a money house. She's a beauty goddess in a house of your face. But this is a romance house. This is your children. This is your art, creative, and entrepreneurial stuff. So there can be a financial surprise that you actually like, but it may really require some immediate decisions or actions, because squares can bring that, to do with romance, to do with romantic partnerships, to do with short distance, to do with your children, to do with some kind of conversation with your kids and it's going to have a positive outcome, right? It's something good is trying to happen here. There can be simply an opportunity for work, but in this case, it would likely be self-directed as opposed to an employment opportunity. You might could be a contract to do some consulting or something that you just want to try on and, try this work out and see how it goes. And it's outside the box, but it, feels like fun. And I would say fun because Venus likes to have fun. Girls just want to have fun. And Mercury's and Uranus is in the house of fun, enjoyment, pleasure. So fun ways to make money may be emerging in surprising, exciting ways for you. Around February the 8th, give or take a day on either side. On the 11th of the month, we're going to see, on the 10th of the month of February, we're going to see Venus leave Pisces. When she gets out of Pisces, she's going to hang with Mercury. Mercury will be here, as I said, till mid-April. You're going to do some traveling, by the way, sometime probably the 26th of February to the 20th of March. There's going to be travel. And if you do travel, you've been to that place before. It's travel to places you've been before, or you'll hear from siblings you haven't heard from in a long time, right? From the past, coming back to communicate with you. But as Venus joins Mercury here, she only sticks around until March the 6th. So there's a combination of a Mercury-Venus, and it's ideal for communications projects or marketing and selling projects to really take on a fine-tuned worldly success energy. It's ideal for starting a website, starting a book, enrolling for a class, promoting a course that you want to teach. All of that kind of stuff is here. Venus loves social times in the local neighborhood. So does Mercury. The two of them are having a blast. You might find yourself more socially engaged, having more fun in the local environment, more active socially, and enjoying it tremendously, exalted enjoyment from February 10th till March the 6th. Now, February 10th to February 10th to February 14th, Saturn is there. This makes for love is hard. Not a good idea to travel for love or date anyone at that time, although it could mean love lasts. It can also be very heavy energy. So if you want to do a new love story, go on a date, get a dating app going, travel for love. I would not do that if I were you, humbly speaking. February 10th to the 14th. I'd wait till we get Saturn out of there. All right. That's just my suggestion. Now, when Venus is here too, she'll be doing a lot of action, and we're going to cover that shortly when she bumps into the North Node. So stay tuned. On February the 11th and 12th, Mercury will crash into the North Node of Destiny, Fate, Rahu. And this allows for, on the 11th, 12th, and 13th, some kind of information or news connected to increase volume up worldly success and destiny. Ruled by Jupiter in your 7th house of long-term committed love, marriage, and business partnerships, audience and clients. I don't know what it is. A Jupiterian person may enter your life, a teacher, a spiritual teacher, a generous and wealthy person. And it could be Mercury's like an increase of or volume up or something coming through the email, phone call, text messages that is going to feel likely positive because Venus is there. Venus rules Uranus on that wealth star. Maybe your spouse or significant other would come into some wealth, and that's your surprise to receive their surprise, and you're sharing the surprising information. But something good is happening here. It's really good for travel, especially to foreign lands and distant shores, and planning the trip, taking the trip, organizing the trip, and or travel locally and domestically into places that are not that unfamiliar to you, right? Even like if you live in Germany, but you commute every day to France, well, that's going to be the third house travel, right? But if you live in Germany and you've never been to Poland, that's a long distance trip. So it's like familiar travel as well. So there may be a destined trip. Okay, February 12th. You may be taking a destined trip or planning a destined trip. Single, this is a good week. This whole week actually is a really good week around this time frame where we're at February 7th to about the 14th, 15th. It's a really good time for meeting somebody new, minus a Saturn impulse. If you don't mind the idea of relationships being a long distance marathon, then you're going to be fine here. Exalted Venus is high standards. Saturn wants to lock it in. Okay, so you might want to do some dating here, but dating gets better on the 14th onward, if you ask me. A little less Saturnian heaviness there. Also, we'll notice that speaking of Lord Saturn, he's getting ready to hightail it out of your third house where he's been hanging out since 2023, the month of March. Now, Saturn has a lot of things he does here. Some of you might have found that your siblings were hard to deal with, or hardship with siblings, or you might have found it difficult. Like you might have been isolating or isolated or alone or a little lonely, connected to locations where you live, to neighbors and neighborhood situations, right? Feeling like, I don't have a lot of social life here. There's a lot of like either desire for aloneness or aloneness was just happening. Even no matter where you lived, you kind of found yourself feeling quite alone or choosing alone. Saturn here could also have been an energy of putting a lot of discipline into your writing, your website, your communications or marketing projects. That's another meaning of Saturn that has been traveling your third house for a long time. And because Saturn himself has particular priorities in your chart, which is one is your Saturn rule. The other is money. He rules your money and he couldn't witness your money house. So you might have found making money, earning money, very difficult or complicated or a struggle or a hardship since 2023 March. And that's going to go away because this bugger is leaving. And there he goes. He's heading in on the 14th of February to your fourth house. So let's talk about the third week of the month. Let's talk about the 13th, 14th, time zone dependent, through to the 21st, when we get Saturn in your fourth house. It's the beginning of a 3-year journey that lasts through to April of 2028, which are going to focus primarily on matters connected to your home. This could be very literally like, everything that happens in your life, it depends on where you live. Like, you are Saturn ruled. Saturn is going to like, here, this marks the spot. You are here. X marks the home. Saturn wants stable, long-lasting, reliable, enduring domicile or home. And if that hasn't been the case for you, this will try to become that. On the other hand, some people, when Saturn comes into this part of the chart, end up living with an elder, having to live with an elder, maybe moving in, taking care of an elder. Sometimes it's like you feel like, I feel nostalgic and melancholic, sometimes lonely in my home. But for those of you who don't mind that, who are looking for some isolation and aloneness, you're going to enjoy it. But the more important thing is that Saturn says, let's make some money. And that's because he begins to sextile and bear fruit for your second house of earnings, which he owns. And in a way, there's a way to think about this. If you want to go back to the 3 years that preceded March of 2023, just kind of go back 3 years, 22, 21. Maybe think about you in 2020 spring, perhaps, to March of 23. If there were any earnings opportunities that were burbling up, you know what I mean? Like they seem to be like, hey, I could do this for money. I can get that for money, but they never materialize. It's like Saturn would have been sort of planting seeds then. And now he can witness his seed planting and put some water on that stuff, sprout it. Okay. Water bearer. And so you might find that things that were in play 2020, 21, 22 that may have led to earnings opportunities can now become fortified, rejuvenated, and sprout into some real opportunity. Now, when Saturn's in your fourth house, this is the house of the family of origin and the people with whom you grew up. And so there may be some hardship going in the life of a mother, a father, a sibling, somebody that you grew up with might be going through a difficult time in their life, especially with Chiron here. It could be a medical problem. So be aware of that as well. It does run for 3 solid years. We're going to do a special webinar on making your dream home come true. That's Saturn and Neptune, not a webinar, but a longer form video. So make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to understand some deeper meanings of this when I put out my Saturn Neptune video next week, a few days after this one drops on the 25th of the month or 24th of the month. All right. And then of January. And then the next thing we must discuss is that as we move into the 14th to the 21st, the first thing that happens is the sun squares Uranus. Remember, Venus did that on February 8th, and Mercury did that way back on February 5th. And now the sun gets into the action. Now, the sun is a different animal because the sun is the ruler of the Leo sky, right here. Chunky money. And he's the exaltation ruler of home, property, and real estate. So I could say to you something along the lines of, under this kind of sky, that you might find yourself making some pivotal decisions or actions may be ready to be emerging for you around land, property, home, real estate, domicile, where you live. Also, connections to inheritances, spousal support, and investment monies. But the Uranian square is unexpected, fast-moving, urgent, swift, and surprising. All right? So like electric shock energy here. Mars is cutting and severing. You might want to consider taking money off an investment table, but because he's with the sun, but I'm not sure what that is. I do want to note, though, because where the sun is sitting, relative to its owner, Saturn, there could be something going on that is also about property and land, a sudden need to change where you live, a very radical or unexpected, like, I need to move. This is, I got to get out of here. You know, this is it. I'm changing where I live. Right, that's the vibe. Now we're approaching the eclipse of the 17th. But before we get there, as we're getting ready for it, on the 15th, 16th, and 17th, good news is trying to find its way to you, or lucky opportunity. The opportunity in the news is coming from Jupiter in the 7th house of business partnerships, long distance, long-term love relationships, clients, marketplace, audience, Mercury, information, conversations, and news. So many ways it could play out for you. Like, honestly, it could be information or news coming through that you're going to travel, connected to business opportunities, connected to love opportunities. You might find yourself getting an opportunity to be favored by someone who's wealthy and generous and operates to support something that you're trying to achieve in the 3rd house of communicating, writing, selling, traveling, learning, teaching, and marketing. You could get a golden contract or opportunity of some kind. And Venus rules your 10th house of career, and she's hanging out there. So a golden career contract opportunity, it might require moving or traveling, or even traveling to foreign lands and distant shores that Jupiter rules your 12th house for this golden emergent opportunity that feels very fortunate to you. And again, that information is probably a phone call, text, or email of some kind, most likely. So put that on your calendar. There may be something very specific coming through your communications lines that feels positive and very opportune. And Jupiter is exalted. He'll bring you the best he can. And get a lawyer to look at the fine print because Mercury can't see it. He's all fogged out in Pisces. Got fog on his water goggles, right? If you move to the solar eclipse itself on the 17th, we're going to talk about the 28 degrees of an eclipse in a money earnings house, okay? It's on the 28th, 17th, 28th degree. There it is. This will be at 28 degrees of Aquarius. This eclipse is going to be different than the ones that you experienced in 2008, 2009, or 1989, 1991. The primary difference is, of course, Pluto is here. But you have gone through this very same eclipse more or less at the very roughly February of 2008, February of 19. No, it would have been February of 1990. If you want to compare it, that's the best way to do it. And these changes are about your way you make money. Some of you dietary changes, some of you changes to your facial appearance, but most of you changes to the way you make money, earned income, right? Money, this is your wallet, pocketbook, savings. I have a possession. I possess the money. I possess a home. You could buy something like a car, a home. You could, there's changes here. So this eclipse isn't about the day of the eclipse. This eclipse can take place 6 weeks before. There's early rumblings. You're already in it when you listen to this video. Then the eclipse continues to unfold at least a year later, but with this solar eclipse, let's give it 6 months. So you're going to have major destined changes of earnings And this eclipse comes back next year, and it's not a hybrid. It's all in the sign of Aquarius, continually pummeling you with dietary changes, in this case for health, probably, and or changes in the way you make money. So it's not maybe just a change of job. It could be a change of livelihood, career, means and mechanisms to earn money. Okay. And you will notice that even as the eclipse is happening on the 17th, the North Node is not with the eclipse, which it normally would be. It's in the sign next door, which is the third house, meaning that changes in earnings will require travel or relocation, or could pull you into the digital online world with a website or booking calendars, payment processors, social media landscape. And also changes in the way you make money may be connected to siblings in your life for some reason, or changes in the way to you which acquire money may come through siblings for some reason. Venus during the eclipse is conjunct the North Node. She's benefic and she amplifies the goodness here. Like the North Node turns up the dial on her goodness, exaltation. She's exalted here. And she keeps the North Node from being malefic. She bonifies him. So in essence, this is also a side story, but also connected to the eclipse. So it could be a rapid and sudden and extreme increase of wealth coming off of this eclipse. Okay, rapid, sudden, extreme, surprising increase of wealth coming off of this eclipse, because Venus rules that algol, shock and awe, good fortune, money, fifth house where Uranus is sitting. When it comes to romantic love, Venus is always down for romance. She's about sex, romance, love, and money. North Node is destiny and fate, increase, right? Intensity, conversations, second house that are destined, pivots in long-term love and relationship, maybe moving a long-term love and relationship into more consolidated commitment. But the whole thing does also trine Jupiter in the house of marriage partners, and retrograde Jupiter means marriage partners from the past. So there may be some pivotal conversations with former long-term committed love partners coming through in a destined, fated way. But positivity is here, right? Like, I don't know, if you were a writer, you could win a book award. If you're on social media, you could have a massive splash of worldly success. You might be on a podcast or something big is happening. In the neighbors and neighborhood, there might be something extremely positive happening for you as well. Mercury rules the house of courts, and the judges say, no. That land belongs to you. I don't know what your neighbor's suing you for. Like, just good news around legal contracts and suits and lawsuits and land and property connected to neighbors and neighborhood, those sorts of things. When we get to the energy of the Neptune and Saturn conjunction, on the 20th, 3 days after the eclipse, these guys are joined pretty well perfectly together. And it's not about the day, because the reason is it's going to be a theme that gets started here on the 20th of February and lasts 3 years, until April of 2028, where both Saturn and Uranus are co-present in your fourth house. This is your dream home. This is your home in a warm, arid place in a distant, far, isolated. Aries represents sandy or hot or distant, remote, pioneering location. Neptune is usually water, but this is hot water. You could say near water in a hot place, but there's a need or desire under this chart to heal the chironic wound of finding a true home that's been bothering you since 2019. And this is the beginning of fixing the problem, so to speak. And I do like how that ingress happens on the 20th with the moon, which represents nest and home in the sign of Aries. And it could be a nest and home because of a relationship partnership. Okay. There's a pioneering quality to this new home. It's like, I boldly go to live in a place I've never been before. That's the quality of that vibe in this story. Very Star Trek and pioneering, like on the Starship Enterprise, to boldly go where you have never lived before. Yep. That's what I got for you. North Node eclipse energy could also move you to a new locale that's foreign to your homeland as well. Now, when we go to the 22nd, now we're talking about the 21st, basically to the end of the month, the 28th. On the 22nd, the last month of the year, the last week of the year. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. If you like this, it really helps the channel grow. Just one press of a button. I basically begged you guys for subscribers in my January All Signs. I was ready to quit my channel, and suddenly I went from barely scraping up to 500 subscribers by the third week of December to now having 7,000. So begging help. So I'm begging you to subscribe. If you watch my content, you don't subscribe. It really helps my algorithm. I appreciate it. Now, here we go. Venus only brings good things. Jupiter only brings good things. They're exalted. They bring very good things on the 22nd. But more than that, you'll notice that we have a gorgeous little mini trine, and this is also highly beneficial. And the moon will be at 15 degrees on the 22nd, right? And that triangle is opportunity and luck, ease and flow, grace and goodness. And what it does is it makes for something exciting in the house of romance, fertility, children, your own children, having children, conceiving an entrepreneurial business, an artistic project. However, the exalted moon here is often very much about the energy of emotion or fertility. And this can relate very strongly to your own children and grandchildren that are fated and destined, and you've known them from your own past, reincarnation of family members. And that's because of Mercury here. Mercury rules the house of your grandkids, and he's looking at this triangle that's forming from Venus. This energy could also win a jackpot lottery. Sorry, it's true. So keep playing during the cycle of February. And this also could be unexpected, bit of surprise, turning points in sex and romantic engagements around the 22nd. Give it a day before and a day after. All said and done, it could be a wedding proposal, a consolidation of a relationship from the past renewing, a romance with a person in a distant shore and far off land, getting a real new activation of positive and surprising love. You know, the other thing is the moon also represents domicile. Moon always represents the word home. Maybe you're going to move into a new home with a romantic partner person or a relationship person in a surprisingly swift and exciting way because of Uranus, you see? So there's a lot going on here, but you're going to call it good. And now if you're already married and there's no romance on the horizon, a leisure romantic trip emerges out of the blue. Go take a getaway February 21 to 23 and find yourself falling back in love. That would be an idea. If you're entrepreneurial or you want to do consulting work, this gives you consulting work opportunities and business opportunities to be a consultant of some kind and be independent. And it's very fortunate because it shows that it will be emerging as a viable opportunity, maybe some golden feedback, golden opportunity. So it's an exciting little piece of the sky for you. I just like it. You know, get back to me. Let me know how it all goes. I'd like to hear afterwards. How did that week play out? How did the 2021-22 play out for you? 23 of February. And then I need water. I must be like perpetually dehydrated. On February 25th to the 28th, Mars will square Saturn. It's difficult, it's harsh, and it's demanding attention, action, and decisions. Hopefully there's not conflict or injury. So let's talk about it. On the 25th to the 28th of the month, Mars will move into the late part of Aquarius, your second house of speech, and he will square Uranus in the house of children and romantic love. So obviously there could be a harsh blowout with a child, a harsh blowout with a romantic partner in speaking terms and talking. And you are the one with the sharp speech, okay? The other element of this could look like some situation in which there is a demand that you take action financially on a situation regarding a romance, regarding a child, regarding an entrepreneurial business in erratically unexpected and fast moving ways. You might have to spend money. Mars is a spender in the second house. You may have an unexpected expenditure connected to fifth house, which is romance and children. Normally it's ruled by Venus, who is in the house of siblings. and neighbors and cousins, aunts, and uncles. So you could extend it to unexpected expenditures related to those types of people and you having to get involved, or unexpected expenditures regarding travel plans connected to children or romance. Ultimately, it can lead you to making decisions about money in rapid ways, in really intense, demanding ways, the 25th to the 28th. I'm thirsty. On February 26th, Mercury will retrograde. He'll be retrograde from the 26th of February to the 20th of March. This is all going to take place here. You'll hear from siblings you haven't heard from, email, phone call, text, old friends from childhood. You'll hear back from people connected to neighborhoods you used to live in. You'll hear back from siblings in general, but it could be particularly under the sky, a sibling one younger or a sibling three older or three younger, and information, news, emails, phone calls, conversations connected to those people in your past, revising writing projects, websites, and marketing and selling plans, revisioning and revising. February 26th to March 30th. Don't forget, Mercury's here until mid-April. On February 28th, Mercury bumps into Venus. Yay. I don't mind this because these two are compatible. They're simpatico, and they're not going to harm each other at all. They're both between the Earth and the Sun. So there you go. So Mercury is like, okay, oh, I lost your sign. I do apologize, but let's take it back. So this is like, well, communication, writing, especially written communication regarding Venusian themes of your children and love and sex and romance, or career, in beautiful, positive, destined, fated ways that you're going to enjoy and say yes to. And the sun will be co-joined the North Node the day before this happens on the 27th. Destined, fated opportunities emerging connected to an increase of your financial wellness may connect to travel or siblings. And Venus will bonify, make good this news, whatever it is. But because Mercury's retrograde as he crashes into her, these are also considerations about writing and communicating and written messages that are also connected to things that have been going on already. And when I say going on already, it means what was Mercury doing from February the 6th in your third house until February 26th. And most particularly, what was going on February the 21st to the 26th. Or even, let's say, February 23rd to the 26th, because it looks to me like something's happening and now Mercury's going back and hitting Venus, and that you're readdressing that, okay? Writing, communicating, siblings, neighborhood, travel, all of that stuff. A little bit of a touch point on the love stuff as well in your romance house, children. But also because we do have Venus attending to your 10th house of career, there may be a work opportunity. She's 6 houses from your career space, like a job opportunity emerging for you if you're looking for work on February the 26th, 7th, 8th, 9th of the month. Oh, there's no 29th. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss my next videos. Don't forget, I write on Substack about world events that would get me in trouble here on YouTube. I can be unplugged, untethered, and say what I really think, and also talk about hot, controversial topics. Check me out at the Pluto Chronicles Substack, free articles, weekly drops in your inbox. Oh, it's like a magazine that I have created there. If you want to check out my Patreon community, I teach there. Lots of mini classes, gatherings, Q&As, small group Zoom settings. Meet me in person. Come to Patreon. Early access ad-free content for all of my videos as well. And if you want to come here and join me here, live streams plus content on teaching and learning and controversial topics that I won't do publicly are in my members only community. And there's a couple free courses on Chiron I'm giving you to join my community. Chiron, the key to purpose, and life cycle timing. Once you join and you use those courses that are in the members only area, then you can leave. You'll spend $3.50 in the United States to take a look at my back end of my members only area. Thank you guys. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful, everybody. Wonderful, wonderful. There, I'm bright again. Month of February 2025. Hold on to your hats. Eclipse season's here.